Hey guys, Brent here. Today we're going to be talking about fear. I spent so much of my life full of fear and anxiety, creating so much stress. So we're going to take a deep dive into it today. But before we get into that fear stuff, let me tell you that I really love asking questions. Now, if you're a member of my Facebook community, you probably see those questions every day inside the group. Now, there is a very important reason why I'm asking those. There is a reason. The right questions can help you find the right answers. You know why? Because all answers are within you. Everything is already inside. You just have to know how to access it. The right questions can help trigger a truth within you that you've never, ever been aware of before. Questions can help you go within. They can help you self-reflect. They can help you get to know yourself and identify your deeper beliefs, your values, your passions, your dreams, your pain, fear, tendencies, motivations, and so much more. Questions are transformative. Questions can open your mind. They can make you think about life from a different angle. They can help you become a free thinker and give you guidance. Fear is a highly debilitating energy and can truly keep us from living our fullest potential. So first, what is fear? Well, fear is an emotion or a feeling that we feel based on the belief that we're in danger. Some fear is healthy, like the fear that comes from seeing a rattlesnake, because this fear will prompt you not to go near it. This is a rational fear. This is your survival instincts kicking in. However, there are other types of fear that, simply put, are completely irrational and they don't really serve a purpose. Now, some irrational fears include having a fear of ants, authority figures, speaking in public, or flying on an airplane. None of these fears are rational. They're merely based in some sort of programming, some false belief system, or a past traumatic experience. Now, some fears aren't as obvious as the fear of snakes or the fear of airplanes. Some fears are more subtle and harder to detect, like the fear of failure, rejection, or loneliness. These are fears that you have to dig a bit to uncover. However, whether our fears are subtle or obvious, most of them are irrational and we experience them on a regular basis. So, if you have some crazy fears, don't be ashamed of yourself. Know that we all have them. Some of us are just better at hiding them than others. So, why do we experience fear? Well, babies are born with only two fears: loud noises and falling. They're not afraid of the dark. They're not afraid of snakes. They're not afraid of flying. They're not afraid of looking stupid. And they're not afraid of failure. Babies are as free as it gets. However, as we grow older, we get exposed to our environment. We start to build awareness of the world all around us. We absorb all sorts of information. We start to have certain life experiences. We start to develop certain biases about the world all around us, and we start to develop fear. Now, these fears can come from getting chased by a dog, getting abused, or being made fun of for how we look. They can also come more indirectly, such as from our parents' fears that they've projected onto us, through unconscious parenting, no fault of their own. They didn't know any better. Or it could come from our social environment, such as through social programming. But at the root of it all, our fears are based in ego. And what is ego? Remember, it's identification with a false self and a disconnection from our true spiritual nature. Now, the more disconnected that we are, the more we fear and the more anxiety we experience on a daily basis, the more disease we create. Remember, dis-ease, we're not at ease, dis-ease. The more we surrender and the more we connect with our higher selves, the more our fears dissolve. Now, obviously, the deeper and more ingrained the fear, the harder it's going to be to overcome it. But it is possible. How do we overcome fear? Well, I had a friend who had a really extreme fear of dogs due to being bit while they were a child. Now, they did some spiritual growth work. They're no longer afraid of dogs. That fear for them is gone. And I have seen it in hundreds of people. People have strong, irrational fears in many areas of their life. They're not easy to dissolve until you bring awareness to them. They take some time to overcome. But I will say this, the most helpful thing in overcoming your fear is awareness. It's to become aware of them, identify them, see them for what they are. Stop hiding from them, because many of our fears are subtle. We can go through life without ever giving them a second thought, and we let them rule our lives. These unacknowledged fears can cause a lot of emotional damage. So the main point is to become aware of them. Just bringing awareness to your fear, you're almost there. You've almost succeeded. Just become aware of the fear. You're bringing them to the light. And a lot of these fears can't stand up to the scrutiny. When you drag them into the light, they fall apart. When they're in the light, they're no longer in the dark. They're not as scary anymore. Bringing them to the surface allows you to interpret them from an adult's mind and from a higher perspective to see how illogical and irrational the fear is. A lot of times, this conscious perspective of the fear is all you need, and it's gone, eradicated, banished from your life. Other times, however, the fear is more deeply programmed. It's deeply rooted. It's going to take a bit more work. You need to go deeper into the fear. You need to find out its source and then tackle it from that angle. Sometimes it helps to hire a professional to help you process the pain. Sometimes all you need to do is do what actually scares you the most. Do it. Get comfortable at it, and it vanishes. If you're scared of rejection, put yourself in a position to get rejected. Get comfortable with the feelings it creates and process them as you go along. Scared of the ocean? Get out there. Get comfortable with being in the water. Scared of dancing in public? Take a class, get good, and start practicing in public. Doing what you're most afraid of doing and then doing it over and over again will not only help you overcome and become more comfortable with it, but you're going to gain new skills, new experience, and the confidence to deal with it effectively. Now, before you can do any of that, you need to first identify what your actual fears are. You need to bring those fears into the light. That is the entire point, to bring those uncomfortable feelings to the surface and not to be afraid of them. The more you keep them in the dark, the bigger and the scarier they will become. Also, keep in mind that a lot of times when we feel frustrated, we feel impatient or anxious, angry or jealous, it's usually fear at the root cause. Fear expresses itself as all sorts of negative emotions, so don't dismiss them too easily. Take some time and really look at those feelings. For example, let's say that you hate being in traffic and it makes you feel impatient and frustrated. You might not think that this is based in some sort of fear, but if you dig deeper, you may be able to discover that your sense of impatience comes from the fear of being late to work and getting fired. Then you can explore further where that fear comes from. It takes some work. It takes a little digging. You're kind of the archaeologist of your life. For each of your fears, try to see if that fear is realistic. Does this fear make sense? Is this fear rational? Is this fear logical? Is it factual? Is it true? Or is the fear just a crazy idea in your head? It's only our conditioned minds and patterns that tell us that there's something to be afraid of when things are perfectly safe. After all, fear does stand for false evidence appearing real. So if you can learn to override your conditioned mind, fear will no longer control you. Now, this is not a quick fix. This is a lifelong process. But You can start the process of becoming aware of those fears right now. Right now. And when you do, everything starts to change. Those feelings, those emotions that you've got trapped inside, you're using your willpower, your life force energy to hold inside. They want to be free and they want to go. They weren't made to be pulled in. That's all I got for you today. I want to thank you for watching. Fear is a huge thing. Let me know down below, what fears are you struggling with? What big fear in your life have you tackled and beaten? Put that down below too and let us know. Let other people live vicariously through your stories. You have no idea the people that you can inspire telling your truth. So if you've banished a fear, let us know. If there's a big fear in your life you're ready to get rid of, let us know that too. Thanks for being here today. Don't forget our Facebook community, facebook.com/groups/students of self-empowerment. And if you want some more information, you want to go deeper, you want to figure out those fears and banish them completely from your life, go to brentwebtraining.com. Don't forget, don't worry, be happy and feel good. I'll see you soon.
To all you people all over the world, wherever you are, I know it's a tough one. I'm an old dude. I've been around for years. I live with optimism. But to all you guys, all you youngsters who feel thwarted and put down and hopeless, believe me one thing. I read someone, I can't remember whether it was in the Old Testament or I think it was a shaman, maybe Carlos Castaneda, but the shaman said there was a drought. Cattle were dying, people were dying in a desert. And the shaman said, build the ditches, dig the ditches for the rain. And they said, there is no rain. Dig the ditches and the rain will come. Now you non-believers may say, oh, that's nonsense. Well, believe what you want. That's the rational mind. I don't think the rational mind is working too well at the moment. It's the irrational mind, the subconscious. All my life, when I was a little boy, I dreamed of where I am now. I may have had a vision, I don't know. Didn't have much hope, but everything happened for me. And now I believe that we can condense time. We can pull it to ourselves. It's not about the future. Oh, I'm going to do something next year. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. The next hour does not exist. It's all potential. But what we can do is drag the time into the present, now, into the solar plexus of our soul. Build the ditches. Whatever you want to do, believe it, believe it, believe it, even if you don't believe. Play the game of belief. Act as if you believe. That is power. That is sheer power. And it will happen. Believe you me. From an old fool like me. It's worked in my life. It will work in yours.